financial literacy, and the human condition. Welcome to Financial Fitness with the Money Doctor, Dr. Francis Rayam.
Hi, it's Francis. I just wanted to take a minute to thank you for watching this video. If you're catching us on YouTube, please help us help others by clicking like, subscribe, and all notifications so you don't miss any videos. And check back for the next video. I think you're going to love it. Thanks again. For more information, you can visit us at hugyourmoney.com.
Welcome to Financial Fitness. I'm Jess Tyler, along with the Money Doctor, Dr. Francis Rayam. Hi.
Hi, Jess. How are you today?
I am great. We have a familiar guest with us.
We do. Dr. Bob, I enticed him to come back.
Familiar. What a great term. Hey, it's great to join you guys. Add a little, sports medicine, health and fitness style in your show, because the Money Doctor, hug your money, right?
Hug your money.
There you go.
That's right.
Really.
For those of you who don't know Dr. Bob and who haven't seen him in a little while, I just want to give him a brief introduction. But Dr. Bob is a radio host and author of #HeySportsParents, which is a great guide if you want to mitigate or learn to manage the costs involved in high school age and other sports. A consultant, a speaker, a columnist. This is besides being a physician, of course. And in 2019, and in 2019, he was inducted into the National Fitness Hall of Fame, which acknowledges his contributions to the sports medicine world. So I love that he takes time out to come and be with us. The last time he was coming on the show, we had to abort at the last second because he was called into surgery. So we had to change and say Dr. Bob got called into surgery as a consultant, I think, as an assist or something, right? In that surgery?
Yes.
Do you remember?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. It was actually, it was a patient of mine who was referred to somebody for some ankle procedures. So yes. And then, schedules always change. So here we are, we're going to be catching up. And it's always great to be with you guys. And, a lot of people don't realize that the financial side of being a parent of a high performance young boy or girl, being an athlete today who's looking at NIL situations where they're getting paid to be transferred from one school to another. It's nuts. And that's why we want to continue to help educate. You mentioned a lot of the pressures, and they are physical as well as mental in all of these areas when you're talking about any specific, whether you're a weekend warrior or you're a might be the name of the next book, might be Hey Sports Grandparents.
Well, that's, it's a good sequel. Yeah, for those of you listening who don't know what NIL is, name, image, likeness.
Forever, an amateur athlete was an amateur. So an athlete, even though the schools might be making tens of millions of dollars, think of football and basketball, those are the two big sports. With the addition of these particular athletes. But if an athlete wanted to sign a picture or sell a hat or be involved at all in the world of money, they were suspended very aggressively forever. All of a sudden, over the past couple of years, there was this change where the term student athlete was actually a legal term. Because again, if the athlete had injuries during their career, it's years later, they're not covered. The college was off the hook. Whereas if you were someone selling peanuts in the stands in a union, you might have had insurance. So the whole thing blew up with the positive side on the left, that athletes would be compensated, and the chaos on the right, where you have transfers of athletes all over the place. And it's turned the world of March Madness upside down. It's added tremendous pressure. And your expertise, which is being able to counsel parents or colleges or individuals, coaches, on how do we deal with this madness of so much money in so many different areas. And the fact that if your son or daughter is on a traveling team or a club team, you're spending tens of thousands of dollars a year. And as the sports doctor, my new venture where I'm a consultant, I'm going to be a quarterback where I am surrounded with 20 or 30 experts like you in fitness, in the mental side, in nutrition, in sports performance, in parenting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and be able to counsel people on a plan to deal with these tremendous pressures. You know, when you're watching the Olympics, you see a 20-year-old, they've been involved since they're 9. So,
Right.
and again, that's why I welcome your expertise when it comes to counseling some of these parents who are facing ice time. You know, one of my real subspecialties forever is figure skating.
That's right.
I can't believe we just celebrated the 15th year of my young kid growing up here in Illinois. Evan Lysacek became the Olympic gold medalist in figure skating. And he
Wow.
One
was
more
10.
time, one more
He
time,
was
tell
the
people who don't
Evan,
know about this
yes, Evan
individual. Yeah.
Lysacek, 2010 Olympic gold medal figure skating Olympian. And he was 10 years old when I put orthotics in his skates, in my specialty. So that ride that we were on with this whole world of the pressure of these 10, 11, 12-year-olds is a very, very important one. And there's both a mental and a physical side, like we talked about. Is your son or daughter in the best shoe? What's their history of foot and leg problems?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I sound like I'm hosting the radio show.
Let me ask our co-host Jess for a second, who has children, because I don't have children, so
Aha.
I don't have the sports thing. What's it like in your household? Do your kids do sports? Can you give us
Yeah,
any insight?
it's very expensive even at like 6 and 7. There's a different sport like each quarter, and it just adds up. Every sport, like with the hockey, they've got to get all the stuff for it. The soccer, the same thing. So you just hope that they want to stick with it. Otherwise,
Yes.
you're
Well,
spending a
this
bunch
is
of
very
money.
interesting. This is very interesting. You precisely, this is so early, where again we start to see attention being paid, including specific sports. But here's my pearl for the day, Jess. You ready?
Yeah.
Here's the two exercises you want your children to include forever.
Okay.
Number one, strengthen their feet and ankles.
Mm-hmm.
Rubber bands are a great way. And 2 is work on balance. Work on
Mm.
balance. And these are the 2 areas you want to add. Whatever we want to be doing safely, we want to work. And my famous ex-sports therapist, Bob Guida, made such a big deal out of this. Again, whether you were the best athlete in the world or a grandmother, because ankle problems is such a consistent problem, and many times your foot mechanics have something to do with it. So if you have a fun way where they're playing, when they learn how to use rubber bands and they learn how to do some balance while you're playing catch, etc. Guida loved mini trams. Now imagine yourself balancing on a mini tram with your catcher's glove on, and
Mm.
he's
No, you got to
throwing
tell me what, I'm sorry, but you got to tell me what a mini tram
trampoline.
is.
Yes, a mini.
Oh, oh, oh,
Yes,
oh, oh.
yes. So
Okay.
the world of
Got another
trampolines
lingo.
that yes, but
Yeah.
trampolines that we all know are such fun and whatever are great areas to work on balance. And every time you create imbalance, telling grandma, hold on and stand on 1 foot a few times a day and work on balance. This is a very big deal. Falls are the number one
That's
big
right.
time problem with super seniors. And lower extremity problems are a big deal when your child starts to play 10 days a week.
Just to jump in, I was just going to say, I know some people that are getting on in years, and they're saying their physical therapists are saying the same thing. Use a therapy band, do these exercises, practice
Yes, but
balance
learn
as a,
technique. Yes,
that's
learn
right.
learn technique. I
That's
wrote
right.
an article in 2020 about pickleball, and
Oh,
it's the fastest growing sport. Now, people who play tennis in their 60s and 70s have played tennis since they're kids. They
right.
don't just take it up.
Yep.
Pickleball, you got 60, 70-year-olds thinking they could jump on the court. There's an explosion of problems. So we tell seniors, you don't have to be a champion. But again, you want to be doing some strengthening and make sure you're in condition. Pickleball is physical.
Sure.
You're moving around. And so again, whether you're a super senior or you are a 6 and 7-year-old, you want to stay out of trouble, include balance, and understand what you do. So if you go to a
Right.
physical therapist, Athletic Go for years has offered it for free. They'll show parents a good program that their kids could do at home, and then you can many times follow the same thing yourself. And these are some of the things that I've been talking about on the radio. I don't know, 40 years, give or take a few weeks.
Jess, you had a
you know,
question. I'm
Yes.
sorry, Dr. Bob. Yeah.
Just to throw it back what you were saying in the beginning about March Madness, I know that there was a player from USC this week that tore her ACL. So while they won, which was great, she's going to be out for the rest of the season. And I know you're bringing up feet and ankles. I hear about
Yeah.
ACLs all the time. Is that a super
Yes.
common one as well?
Well, I'm going to, great question. I am a foot specialist, sports podiatrist, and 50% at least of the young girls I've seen over the years, whether they were volleyball players, soccer players, world class, or kids in the neighborhood, 50% of the girls have knee trouble, and I'm a
Mm,
podiatrist. That's the importance of the relationship. There's always been 5, 6 to 1 knee concerns, female to male, because anatomically, besides hormonally, but anatomically, as a young girl is getting older, she starts to go through puberty, her hips widen. Many
hmm
times there's more of an angle down to the knee. And there is a tremendous relationship. The foot and ankle are complex mechanisms. And whether you have a high arch,
hmm
whether you have flat feet, all sorts of variables, whether your mother and grandmother had bunions, foot mechanics are inherited. So often we neglect it unless there's problems, but this is something very important. Knee trouble is always, they happen. ACL is a major ligament in the knee. It's the most famous knee injury by far. And then you have Lindsey Vonn, the great Lindsey Vonn, the Olympic skier. She's such an example, not only persistence, superstardom, over 40 years old. I don't know how many knee surgeries, knee replacement, Olympic ski superstar, just won a silver medal. But a great example of the knee concern when we talk about the kind of, especially in female sports, and this explosion of knee concerns. But she's a great example of persistence. And I had to give her a shout out for this incredible sports medicine story.
Hey, Lindsey Vaughn. A shout out from Financial Fitness with the
Yes.
Money Doctor and Dr. Bob Weil. Yeah,
Thank you.
getting it done. All right. Thank you so much.
All right, we want to hear that story, but let's do that when we come back. In the meantime, Dr. Francis Ram, can I get your phone number?
Sure. It's 413-773-3333.
And you can go to hugyourmoney.com. We'll be back with part 2 of Financial Fitness with the Money Doctor, Dr. Francis Ram, and special guest Dr. Bob on WHMP.
Financial Fitness with the Money Doctor is underwritten by Franklin County Technical School. We build futures. Visit fcts.us or call 413-863-9561.
Welcome back to Financial Fitness. I'm Jess Tyler, along with the Money Doctor, Dr. Francis Ram, and our special guest, Dr. Bob.
That's right. We're back with Dr. Bob Weil, complete with props, flat foot, arched.
Yes.
And, I have to
I got
say,
my
I
book
always
if you
had
need it. Go ahead.
people wait too long, in my opinion, myself included, until you have pain to correct what might be a slight difference. Can you talk about that?
Yes. There are 3 areas I talk about on my radio show, really. One's awareness, 2 is education, 3 is action. Awareness of what the heck we're talking about, which is the feet affect all parts of the body. So any persistent lower extremity concern, low back, hips, knees, whether it's arthritis because you've been wearing the joints out, or a chronic problem with a 15-year-old that's always having trouble with her knees or shin splints, and she's on cross country, and we're saying, wow, it's those pronated feet. The feet ankles are complex mechanisms, and there's terms that a lot of people hear, which is pronation, supination, and they are common terms. It's the whole world of the shoe industry, and they're normal motions. And pronation allows you to absorb shock. Every time you land on your heel, you generate about half your weight. Once you start passing over the foot, your foot adapts to the ground. Think you're walking on the beach or you're walking barefoot on the lawn. Your foot accommodates to the surface and your whole leg rotates inward. And that's part of pronation chain. So if your foot collapses excessively, you roll your knee in excessively, a la knee problems. Once you bear weight, the job of the foot is like a lever spring, push you off. The high arch foot, as a rule, is more efficient in pushing off. But if the foot and ankle is rigid, We have problems. In a dancer, man, the balls of my feet, they're always a problem because I'm on the balls of my feet. My back's killing me. And the challenge in dance is we had to be very specific with what kind of orthotic. But ironically, I mentioned Lysacek before. He was on Dancing with the Stars when he won the Olympics. And a couple of the dancers, man, we had them in dress orthotics, color coded, for their 3-inch heels.
That's right.
So number
That's
one,
right.
again, is the understanding that, my grandmother had knee problems. My grandfather always had arthritis. They always had high arches. Should I talk to a podiatrist? Yes. Just the type of shoe could be a key point. Now, when you add dance, a lot of dance is barefoot in some instances. Other
Right.
times it's ballet. So the tremendous stress on the whole lower extremity. So the
Pro dancers.
understanding that this
Yeah.
stuff could be connected is why we want to add our 2 cents.
Well, it makes total sense that things would start from the foot up, but it does bring me back to the idea of money. Sorry to say it,
Yes.
as the money doctor, it's always on my mind, right? But the expense involved in things like custom orthotics or the equipment, like Jess's kids, some of the stats are football helmets, pads, and cleats from $500 to $1,000. I mean, hockey, baseball, football, track, all really expensive sports, right? Ice time, like you were talking about for ice skating. Um, so, what happens for parents who are faced with this?
I think they become educated into the fact that it's important to see if there's a recurrent injury problem. They want to be paying attention. They want to be able to communicate with their son or daughter if they're hurting. Again, that serious young son or daughter, they've seen a big problem with these young kids admitting they've got a head problem. They're getting headaches. They can't sleep. They don't feel good. The concussion world is exploded. There is, everybody you're listening, there is no safe tackle football, period.
That's right. Yeah.
This is something you need to educate yourself on regarding, again, the expenses. Now, if it's a medical concern, whether it's orthotics or some sort of medical care, of course, there's going to be tremendous priority. But what about if it's a traveling team? Or if it's a club team. So we want the parent or coach to be able to have the counseling on what's the best way to. I tell every serious athlete, if you become a mom or dad and you know how important sports was to you, talk to the money doctor about trying to be prepared later on, whether your son or daughter is shooting for a scholarship or whatever. At least educate yourself because it is expensive. Yes, it is. And believe me, there's a lot of pressure. The more talented your son or daughter is, the more
Peer
we
pressure.
see eating disorders in young dancers or skaters or ballerinas. What do you mean you didn't lose that 20 pounds? Wondering why this kid is in all sorts of problems mentally, with their mental health. So
Yeah.
again, the pressure, the financial pressure, it's big.
Well, I think, everything from just nutritional supplements, right? That the kids might need better diets or nutritional supplements. Those are
Great point.
expensive. Training, coaching,
Well, this is where the
club and travel teams you
consultation.
mentioned.
Yeah, this is where the sports doctor's comes in.
Yeah.
This is what I've done on my radio show for 100 years, which I have surrounded myself
100 years.
by these experts in many contributed to my book. Many, like you, have been guests, whether they're sports psychologists, they're nutritionists. I have sports pharmacists, sports cardiologists.
Right.
Dr. Weil, who do I see? Who do I talk to?
Wow.
Where should my son go to school? Should he pay for a pitching coach? Oh my gosh, a third of Tommy John surgery,
Ooh,
Francis and Jess,
really?
are done on teenagers.
Wow.
Think about it. And again, as the quarterback, to be able to talk to a parent, and they can email me at drrwildsportsdoctor@yahoo.com. I have people email me because I have a segment on the show where we talk and include some emails where we might talk about, all of these situations regarding, should my son have a quarterback coach? What about supplements? the key area, RD Kate Nutrition, who's contributed to my book, Kate Davis, sports nutritionist, consults with teams, parents, coaches. My daughter's a gymnast. She's got to pay big attention to nutrition. And then how much hype there is out there. You got
And
every
lack of
commercial,
regulation. Right.
drugs.
Yep.
Do you realize that over 50% of young athletes who are adolescents, listening parents and coaches, over 50% depend on over-the-counter pain medicines, the ibuprofens, the Aleve. Well, if she doesn't take one Aleve twice a day, man, those heels are hurting her, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we want to be able to pay attention to this.
Yeah.
Regarding, again, youth sports is like $100 million a year or more business. It's very, very big business. Of course, there's a big financial side. But who thought of the world of sports pharmacy?
Boy.
And then Jessica Biel, who in the last year or two has been a guest of mine, and
Yep.
that whole area of sports pharmacy, again, being able to find someone to consult with regarding, whether my son or daughter should be taking this, or this, and all this Gatorade and all these commercials. And, what about the diet stuff now, Dr. Bob? Oh my gosh, what's going on with that? Or diabetes?
Well, even if you get these kids through healthy, right, and they're watching their diet and they're not on medicines and they're doing great. Let's suppose the best scenario. You get these youth kids, right? You get the youth kids. You get these young kids through the high school years or through the grade school years of sports, and now they're looking to play collegiate sports at a collegiate level. Now we're talking about real money, and we're not just talking about not that the other stuff wasn't real money, right? It can cost you thousands of dollars just to get your kid into a camp off season, but just in terms of recruitment costs, right? Recruitment costs, things like creating a highlight reel, maybe attending a showcase event, or hiring consultants, right? This stuff is really expensive.
Oh,
Will you
yes, let
talk about
alone
what
now
you
the
see in
new, yes, well, now along the new challenge of that NIL, again, that name, image, and likeness,
likeness?
and
Yeah.
the ability that, again, there might be a local car dealer who wants to sign your son if we'll go to university, wherever it is, and getting $1 million. I had a guest on my show a few years ago from the National Publicity Summit, this great organization that meets a few times a year with Bradley Communication. It's all about meet the media and all of these different types of topics.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the fact that 33% or more of multi-millionaire professional athletes were broke after 10 years.
Yeah.
I said, wow, is that possibly true? And it was, again, this high end, maybe an athlete signing a contract for $100 million has got who knows what goes on in their life. Lucky them. I think that's fantastic. But that statistic knocked me over, that it was even close. There was that kind of challenge. I won't say ignorance. I'll say challenge in that athlete, that young athlete, their family, and the world of multi-million. There was a baseball player just signed for $700 million in 15 years. Went to the Mets, man.
Can I ask a quick question here?
From the Yankees.
Say you're a parent listening to our show today, and I'm wondering, and I don't want to put either of you on the spot, but I'm wondering how much of it for winning these championships in Olympics or events like that is just talent, and how much of it is how well off the family is. Because if you've got two kids that have got equal talent, and you have one that can afford all these things you're talking about, from a sports nutritionist to a physician to all the extra things they need, and one that does not have the money to do that, it feels like, as a parent, I would be thinking, oh, you can't even compete unless you have some kind of extraordinary child.
Well, it's a great question. And the idea is, of course, there are two areas everybody cares about. Number one, can I prevent problems? Can I prevent this epidemic of overuse injuries with these kids? And two, can they have a good mental time? Can they stay out of these kinds of pressures? So there's no doubt about it, there are advantages. This is why we want parents and coaches to be educated. And organizations like the National Association of Parents, one of my guests working with parents in sports from England, Gordon McClelland, these organizations for parents and coaches, iSport 360, to be able to educate parents about what's available. There's no doubt about it that there is an advantage, but talent is, of course, a tremendous advantage. And again, staying out of trouble. So the advantage of a well off, there's no doubt about it. But at the same time, there's all sorts of expertise available. There are all sorts of organizations if people will get educated. And this is what we try to add to the mix, where we have different experts on from these areas that can be available to be helpful.
I'm going to jump in too and just say that, Jess, I hear you loud and clear about that sort of class divide when you can't afford this. And I'm going to agree with Dr. Bob that one of the things that that people worry about, that parents worry about, is if my kid gets injured, can I afford these extra medical costs? Can I take the time off work to care for them? Can I pay for the kinds of things they will need? And that's sometimes a deterrent. But I want to reference in closing here Dr. Bob's book, #Hey Sports Parents, because not only will that give you a link to him where he can maybe tell you some of the free things or some of the available assistance that you can get financially to level that playing field, which I think is what you're talking about. Talent is absolutely important, but as the money doctor, I'm going to say, yeah, I think that people make their decisions based on what they think they will be able to afford or their perceived fear of unchecked expenses going forward. You know, we can't afford a sports camp. We can't afford the ice time. And there are ways around it. And Dr. Bob and I can work together to help anybody who's interested in that.
Absolutely. #Hey Sports Parents. Still around on Amazon. My fantastic Hall of Fame volleyballer, Sharky Zartman, was my co-author with that book. Again, my show is The Sports Doctor, and it's on live every Wednesday. We have the adventure of live radio on BBS Radio. But again, you know, this whole world of youth sports, the idea of parents to be educated regarding staying out of trouble, being prepared, including the doctors, the pediatricians, the other individuals who are involved, and the ability to find out different types of information to, again, stay safe and be smart and be educated.
Yes, thank you.
You know, what's more important than these types of areas? So we're always glad to be included. Glad that you're on the team of experts that could be helpful. And every once in a while, we try to stop in on the Money Doctor with you and Jess. And I commend you guys, you know, for adding some of this information. So it's great to be here.
Thank you for coming on. Well, hopefully you'll come back again. This is Dr. Bob Weil, the sports doctor, affectionately known as Dr. Bob.
And
Thank
Francis,
you.
Can we get your phone number as well for a link to you?
You betcha. It's 413-773-3333.
And you can visit hugyourmoney.com. We'll be back next week with another edition of Financial Fitness with the Money Doctor, Dr. Francis Ram on WHMP.
Financial Fitness with the Money Doctor is underwritten by Hug Your Money. So unique, it's patented. Financial coaching and more information at hugyourmoney.com.